Do you totally suck at LinkedIn? Yep, me too. But if you want to learn a few hints and tips, stick around because recently I got the chance to interview and have a chat with Nicole Osborne from Wonderstars. Now, she is amazing. She is a marketing coach for creatives, for freelancers and agency owners. And she's super knowledgeable. And what we did in this interview was she actually did a teardown of my LinkedIn profile, pulled it apart for everyone in the Facebook community. It was a load of fun and there was some great hints and tips. So check it out. Now, a word of warning. I did forget to press record at the start of this interview. So the first minute or so, I don't have a recollection of, I don't have a copy of, but it is definitely worth watching. We were just quickly chatting about her experience as a marketing person with her 20 years background in the industry. So I'm going to just jump straight into the actual interview and then stick around while she tears down my LinkedIn profile. It is fantastic.
To to advertising via FT worldwide as an advertising medium, and it was brilliant. Our agencies would continuously buy us pink champagne.
Yep.
It wasn't all laughing. We had a lot of late nights and all of that, but I've always been working with agencies and in marketing, and I just feel really lucky that I had both, client exposure, big companies, but also working for fast moving agencies. And I must say, I think fast moving agencies is more my natural home.
Yep.
I'm quite energetic. I like to make decisions. I don't like waiting for committees.
No.
So, yes.
No.
Right, as a designer, committees.
No, I'm one of the very rare people who likes committees, but
good.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. I like that management of what's going on, but a lot of people don't like that. But that's another story. But I wanted to ask, with that background that you have, now that you're working with like freelancers and agency owners and creatives, like have you noticed a difference or any trends or anything that is different for people in this industry?
Yeah, I mean, do you know, marketing has really evolved, right? I think a lot of the general principles absolutely still apply. Who do you want to market to? How can you be the best solution in the market? And how can you really sell to your audience and build that trust, credibility, likability?
Yeah.
I feel what's so exciting for agencies, particularly over the last 2 years with everything which has gone on with the global pandemic, there is an absolute expectation nowadays to get to know the story behind the agency brand, to really bring your people to the forefront. And the amazing thing is, because even the huge, corporate companies like the banks, everyone has been working from home. So we don't actually want to see that kind of style of content where everything is perfect and totally stylized. We want to see real people. And I think for creatives and designers and agencies, such an opportunity, because you're on the same playing field now. You don't have to hire like a huge video production team. Actually, do you know what? You probably have the best tool already at your disposal. So I think that's really exciting, together with a whole trend for behind the scenes content. So a real emphasis, Corey, about how you make your marketing, your work happen. And I know as a client myself, I had a new website just recently, and also over the years working in companies, it's really fascinating for us marketeers to see how you agencies do your work. So what an opportunity, you can really tell exciting stories with behind the scene content. So I believe that's one of the biggest trends, that whole push about opening up, showing the people behind your brand, whether it's a one-man band, a one-woman band, or actually you have a team.
Yep.
Really show them off, because big companies, they like cool agency cultures. They like working with real people because Corey, let's face it, every now and then working on a digital marketing project can get challenging, right? So I want to know the person really is going to be great in helping me through that. So show off your people. I think that's definitely a trend you can tap into.
Yeah, well, that's really good too. That's something that I've talked about quite a lot in the group, about sort of showing your process. And I think that's really important. I think that shows how you think differently to others. It sort of shows how you care about the work. You don't need to go on too much about it, but just actually showing that process gives a lot of insight to how you think. So that's, it's good. That's something we've sort of talked about a few times in some of these other Beyond the Brief. So that's really cool.
It's almost like if I'd watched your sessions.
No.
Some of them.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So what's going to? I've got these questions written down, which is pretty bad. I should know this stuff off the top of my head, but
Oh, not at all.
so yeah, that's what it was. So with marketing, with stuff like social media, how do people know what to sort of focus on? Like I notice you've got an amazing blog. You're doing
Thank
like
you.
some great stuff on YouTube. I love your YouTube content.
Oh,
So I wanted to know what's your favorite platform. I presume it's probably
yeah.
YouTube, but also like what any tips you have for people to sort of work out what platforms they should
Yeah.
be spending time on, or
It's a great question, right? Because we all have limited amount of time as business owners. We already wear all these hats of IT director, HR director, finance director, head designer. We can add to the list, right? So when we do our marketing, it's really important that we focus. So I'm going to reveal my favorite platform at the end. So what I recommend freelancers and agency owners do is a combination of activities. First of all, look at the platforms your audience uses. And, Corey, this could be as simple as you having a chat to your existing clients and just say, look, for design marketing tips, where do you hang out on social? What's your favorite platform? When you originally got in touch with me, how did you come across me? I know it could have been a referral. I know you're active in networking events, but if it has been a social media platform, which platform was it? So you look at your audience first. That's really important because, I'm saying this because there's no point in you going onto a platform where none of your audience hangs out, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be smart with our time. But then the second thing, which is really important for consistency over time, is that you pick a platform you actually would enjoy using, because it's a bit like trying to push water up the hill, right? If it's something, if you're really not liking video marketing, I would say YouTube definitely is not for you. Right?
Yep.
So you look at your audience, you look at what you enjoy doing. And then hopefully the sweet spot is the place in the middle. Now, I always believe it's really important to, as a digital agency, just to optimize all of your social channels, because frankly, you don't know where someone is going to check you out, right? And if this is your business, you have got to look good. But I recommend that you focus on 2 channels.
Yep.
And really do a great job on those 2 channels. And I think it's absolutely fine for someone to say, hey, this is Twitter, but actually our main channel is YouTube. Come for the best tips to YouTube. So then the final bit of your question, what's my favorite channel? So I have really made myself like YouTube. And I say make myself like it because I know I look relatively comfortable on video now, but that hasn't always been the case. I remember like filming my first vlogs. I was so stiff, with nerves. The whole idea of having to do keyword research. It's not just about what I want to create content on. It's about what my audience looks for. It's quite a lot of the science, right? But I do love it because, you can share tips in quite an animated vein. As you know, my branding is all about a sense of fun. And I can see last 6 months, I've really honed into it. And the channel is still relatively small. It's 500, but it's doubled over the last 6 months. So,
that's huge.
Rewarding. Now, my second channel, so it is really LinkedIn, because as a social media coach, I've got to really double and show what I can do on each of the channels. But I very much focus on YouTube. I'm in Facebook groups because I know a lot of agency owners are in Facebook groups, and it's the communities we really like communicating in, right? And I do a bit of LinkedIn. Everything else I pretty much do for fun.
Yep.
So focus, know where your audience is.
I think there's quite a few little things in there too that were really important. And that was, obviously, it's almost like that Venn diagram. Like, you want to be able to spend time, that you want to enjoy the space.
Yeah.
It needs to be worthwhile. It needs to be producing something for you. But yeah, also I think one thing that you pointed out, which was really important, is like how some of this stuff isn't natural, like, and it's okay to sort of start and be a little bit unnatural. Same with me doing this sort of stuff. Like this has been hard for me, and some people might think, "Oh, look, this looks really easy for Corey," but it's actually been a journey to even be able to get to this point. And obviously, I want to improve. So I think anyone, it doesn't matter if you're writing blogs or posting stuff on social media, Instagram, creating content for LinkedIn, YouTube. You've got to start, and it can be quite daunting, but that shouldn't let you stop yourself. It shouldn't put you off from actually creating something and doing something.
Do I agree with you, because I don't know, as a business owner, we have so many choices, right? Who do we work with? How much do we grow our agency? What's the balance? But there's some things I think is sort of facing our fears.
Yeah.
Feel if you want to create the kind of agency you want to get up for in the morning, one which fills you with joy because you've got the right clients, that by paying your worth, you can work on things you really enjoy. There's some barriers you need to push through, right? And I think that's exactly what you're saying. You doing this regularly, and every time you get a little bit better, right? I always say start and keep what you don't delete any videos. Like I find it absolutely hilarious to look back at my old videos, but this is how I started. I was looking up to certain people, and I always looked at their videos and saying, God, I could never get there. But you will do over time. They really say like the first 100 videos are absolutely shite. Sorry for swearing. And I'm only on 40 on YouTube, so it's still a journey. But yeah, pick the one channel and just do small things, and you will get better over time. And tap into your talents. So Corey, you're very visual, so I would imagine for you to create some infographics, some visual information for your channel, that's relatively easy. So tap into your strengths as well. I think that's important, and don't aim to be something you're not. Like I couldn't be the most serious person on my social channels because it's just not me. And if you're a bit quirky, a bit geeky, bring that out. I always say to agency owners, why not?
Yep. Yes, I totally agree. So I'm going to move on to the next question. So we're going to be obviously looking at LinkedIn today. For me, it's a bit of an unknown. I haven't really done much with it. So how would I know, or anyone else know, if LinkedIn is a good place for them? I know you sort of already kind of touched on that with saying, you could ask your current clients and if they're sort of making those noises. To me, it seems obvious because LinkedIn is business focused. So obviously there's going to be business people there, and we work with businesses.
Absolutely.
So, but if you have a specific niche, is there any way of sort of getting any information or knowing? Do you have any advice or? Yep.
Yeah. So the best thing is just to literally like go onto LinkedIn and just search for some terms which are relevant to your sector. So for example, if you were niching into building websites for architects, go into the advanced search function and look by job title architects at a location, and I'm sure you will find lots and lots of entries. Generally speaking, as you just said, people are on LinkedIn because of making business decisions, right? I think 4 out of 5 people on LinkedIn are decision makers. So I would imagine unless you work with really, really, really small businesses, maybe like local retail shops or jewelry makers, whatever it might be, I think the chances are people are on LinkedIn. Look up some people you know, influencers in your sector. Look them up, see what their following looks like, and if it's a sizable following, I think that suggests that your people are on LinkedIn. But
awesome.
I always think the best thing is just to encourage you to break your barriers, is to just speak to your current clients and just say, hey, do you use LinkedIn? How do you use it? What do you find it useful for? Who do you follow on LinkedIn? And I think that feedback will show you that they're on there, and hopefully also encourage you to do more on LinkedIn.
Yes, that's totally something that I need to be looking at. I was going to say as well, if people are going to be, I guess, listening to this afterwards or watching a replay, we're about to, I guess, pull up my LinkedIn profile in a minute. What would you sort of suggest? Is there anything that people would need to grab or get to sort of follow along if they wanted to pimp their LinkedIn profile?
Yeah, do you know, maybe just have a pen and paper, because what we're going to do today, we're going to look at your profile and just look at the different sections and how to optimize them. Because when you work on LinkedIn, it's a stepped approach, and I'll show you a little diagram first. The first one is to optimize your profile. So this is pretty much, if you think about, if you own a flat and you're looking to sell your flat, you would, I don't know, do up the lawn in front of a house, or maybe paint, make sure the windows are really clean, or you paint your door just to make it look at its best. Then you build up your content, so that you show what you're about, what your expertise is. And then the third bit is really proactive outreach. So today, I think, to make really good use of that hour, I say let's spend a lot of time on your profile. And people can see from the recommendations we make how that applies to their own profile, and I make sure that I point that out. And I will just go a little bit into the outreach as well, because obviously we're on LinkedIn to get noticed by our ideal clients, right? It's not for fun.
That's it. Totally. All right, well, if you want to pull up the screen and start doing it,
okay,
let's do it.
So what I've done, Corey, I just sometimes when you share your screen via Zoom, it really slows it down. So I have just put stuff in a slideshow so that we don't have that problem of not seeing things. So just want to say I have a lot of empathy for you guys. You might think LinkedIn is really boring, you don't know what to post, you're too busy with client work. all I want to say is these are the worries and obstacles I get all the time. One of my clients, he started on LinkedIn. We did all the things we're going to talk about today for Corey. And he started becoming more active, and he secured a project which was like 15 times his usual value, 15 times, just by following a few LinkedIn hacks.
Wow.
And actually the project was so good. It was for membership sites. This is actually now an area he's niching into. So I'm saying this so early because it is really, you know, if your audience is on LinkedIn, it's worth tackling some of these obstacles. We've done all of this, don't want to do this again. But, you know, I was essentially think, I love this picture actually, Corey. This is why I'm bringing this up. But, you know, I always think, personally, I think marketing is a contest for people's attention. Of course, it's a two-way street in all of these, but I think Seth, he knows his stuff. And, you know, when I just look in the UK for web design agencies, just on Google, at the time I did this research, over 500,000 hits. Now, if I look at the same rarity on LinkedIn, it's just 66,000 hits. So you can see how already, you know, it's an easier place to get really noticed, isn't it? So here are just some of the numbers, and just in terms of a background, I know you probably still remember LinkedIn being really old-fashioned and stuffy. But I promise you, Corey, it has really become much more sociable and much more so, you know, we talk about our stories, our journeys. It's not like an online CV any longer. So I just wanted to bring this up really, really early.
Yeah, it felt like like I remember getting on LinkedIn early, and it really, it's like nothing really happened. It's like people were putting on resumes, and that's all it felt like, and headhunting. And now there is this social aspect. And to be honest, I've kind of missed that wave. And I see people getting on there now and creating content, and it's like I feel like my head's in that space of that. It's that resume place. Yeah. And
you totally spot. So I really encourage our viewers today to step away from that mindset. It's not a resume play any longer. It's just maybe 10 years ago it was, but it's changed so much, and there's so many cool features. What I particularly like, when, you know, you said about Instagram earlier, it's very hard sometimes to get your posts seen on Instagram and Facebook. You really have to put in some paid media. Therefore, on LinkedIn, if you do it well, organic really still works so well on LinkedIn.
Wow,
so you can get noticed. And it's just about consistency, some thoughtful content, which opens a dialogue. And I'll show you today how to do that. So that's what I really, really like LinkedIn. And particularly, you know, one thing I hear from agency owners a lot, Corey, and I'm sure you agree with that, is they want to be seen as an expert, right? Because they want to charge what they're worth.
Yes.
But how do you put that expertise out there, right? And one of the ways is to be active on platform like LinkedIn, where you can share posts, where you can share industry updates quite easily. That positions you as an expert to be active in that space. And as a result, you can get really high quality leads because people are in a work frame of mind. And I've done some work with Vito from Atarim, and I remember when he was really active on LinkedIn, they filled his diary book really, really quickly by just doing some targeted outreach. Very briefly, you know, just if you compare to all of the different platforms, LinkedIn is really most successful in terms of lead generation. And look at this fact, you know, 4 out of 5 people on LinkedIn drive business decisions. We don't go there for fun, right? We go there with okay, I'm running my business. What do I need to get? What do I need to improve? So
yeah, I think I was thinking that before when you were saying stuff before. When you're on something like LinkedIn, you're in that space of making decisions. You're thinking about business. Whereas if someone's on Facebook, for example, you kind of got to interrupt their day. Like most people are on Facebook for entertainment or to catch up with friends or whatever. And you've got to interrupt them and sort of say, like, hey, buy my stuff, or, you know, do you want this stuff? And it's almost interrupting. So, I think that's a great thing that you're sort of pointing out here with LinkedIn, that there's people in the right frame of mind.
And Corey, just to build on that, you know, it's actually a trend I forgot earlier. As a creative agencies, you can really, instead of being that interruption, actually be the entertainment.
Yeah.
Because you have all these tools at your disposal. You could probably tell a really interesting story in like a two-minute clip or just a really short post. So whatever you try and not be the interruption, be the entertainment, if you can somehow combine that so that it even then works on Facebook because people want to be entertained. And to be fair, also now on LinkedIn, which is the beauty of it, you don't have to be too serious with your posts. Thank you for reminding me, don't be the interruption, be the entertainment.
And like you said, you said this a while ago as well, but I just want to I think it's the same thing. It's like if you can play to your strengths, and you can, you know, if you're good at video, if you're good at animation, if you're good at drawing, if you can use those things, you're going to stand out because people are used to seeing probably some of the same sort of business related stuff, and you've got a good opportunity to just kind of slap them in the face with a great graphic.
absolutely, really draw them in, really hook them in, right?
Yep.
So do you know, I said earlier about this LinkedIn journey, do you know, it's so, and I bring this up because people want to get results really fast, really, really quickly, but you have got to start with building blocks, which is your profile, which is what we're doing today,
Yep.
which then allows you to build your network, build your influence, and do all the proactive outreach. So Corey, are you ready for this?
Yes, let's do it.
So I'm gonna focus today on headshot, banner image, headline, about section, experience section, and recommendations. And if people want to text us a list of things they could fix over a coffee break, those are the things they could fix.
Awesome.
Okay, first of all, I'm so pleased you have an image on there, and it's a really
Yes.
approachable photo. You know, you look into the camera, it's a purposely professionally taken image, because, you know, I say that because some people have their mate's arm around them. You know, have a picture you either take yourself on the camera or have professionally taken.
Mhm.
So I also really like that you use the space, so the banner image behind your head image, your photo.
Yep.
Now, what I would say with that, Corey, if you move it around slightly so that you have all the important things showing on the right, it makes sure
Yes.
that nothing is covered.
Yep.
But you know,
That's
it
good.
looks very on brand. If I see this, I recognize your creative branding. I recognize your personal branding. So brilliant. Now, when I then look at the next section people see is, so under your name, there is something we call the headline. So at the moment you say designer, creative director at L Creative. And I'm going to show you how we can really maximize that space.
Good.
So let's go through it, but we'll come back to this. So far, so good, Corey. Are you comfortable?
Yeah. No, this is good. This is good. I'm tough. I could handle this.
So, you know, just for the headline section, a couple of tips here. So you want to write it with your dream clients in mind. What do they care about? Now, I know you sometimes specialize in, is it land developers, property developers?
Yes, exactly.
Bring
Well done.
something in. Oh, no, I remember from our really good chat. We have 220 characters at the time of filming this. So maximize it. You know, it's a bit like filling a brochure with only half of the pages. You might as well really maximize this. You want to add some keywords and perhaps even emojis. And I bring up emojis because you and I, we both love emojis. So for you,
Yes.
it's totally on brand. Say who you're helping, you know, something which makes you memorable, because it is a bit like a conversation opener. So, you know, we talked earlier before we came, you love to ride your bike, something which is a little bit quirky, so that when people want to get in touch, it's quite easy. And I'm going to show you an example of someone who does that really well. This is Carl. He's one of my Wunderstars clients. And look, I just want to draw your eye to the headline. He's saying, yes, I do own 15 guitars.
Yeah, wow. And that's like a whole, I guess, like a whole summary of who he is. Like, it's not just
right.
Yep. I can see what I'm doing wrong there.
No, okay, but we can add to that, right? Because
you've
got 220 characters. You can add some more details in it. So you know, I would definitely talk about how mad you are about design and how really passionate you are about that, and perhaps even something from what you do outside work. Something where it's just an easy talking point. So on mine, I talk a lot about being German, because I'm not giving anything too private away, right? I mean, you can look me up and you know I'm German.
Yeah.
So here's an example of someone who does that really well. Now, the next section, Corey, is the About You section. And at the moment, if it's a 10-page brochure, you filled one page. So there's more opportunities.
Yep.
Because do you know which section I mean? It's the, if I go, hang on.
Yeah, go back.
If I go back, it's basically the section, you know, it says here about
yes.
That's the About section. So this is what you got. I'm a designer and brand strategist who helps land and property developers find investors and home buyers to a perfect place for their needs. I've been creating brands for over 20 years and currently run Al Creative from our Geelong offices. Apologies if I don't pronounce it right. So that's what you got at the moment. It's not bad, but we can totally build on it.
Yep.
So what do we want in there? I think you said earlier, right? It's not a resume, so we don't want any boring resume talk. We want it to be, you know, warm, friendly, approachable. You want to bring in your audience. So what is it exactly you do for these land builders and property developers? I think you said it to me when we spoke. You bring this vision alive of something which essentially isn't there yet. And this is what you really love doing. So that would be a nice thing to mention if you wanted to.
I mean, I've got to try and I've tried to think of better ways of explaining this, but essentially what's there is a piece of dirt, and people have to envisage a lifestyle like that isn't actually there. You're selling a dream of, you know, a home that doesn't exist.
But Corey, everything you said that to me sounds really good, because it's real language and it comes from the transformation you achieve for your clients. So I think that would be perfect. That
Great.
would be
There you go.
absolutely perfect to use. So Corey's going to watch back the replay and write it
I
down.
am. I wish that I didn't have to do this. I could be taking notes, actually.
So hosting is always the hardest job, isn't it? Because
It
you have to
is. It
make.
is.
I totally know. I do really appreciate you inviting me today. You want to add your contact details in there.
Yep.
Now, I would do it quite at the front or at the bottom. Add keywords in there. So with things, you set brand strategies, put all these keywords in there because it's a little bit like Google Juice. It will help the LinkedIn algorithm to show your profile. It will also come up on Google. So to add your keywords, show
So
personality.
would keywords also include like industry stuff? So if people have a niche, if they're targeting, dog
Yeah,
groomers, for
completely.
example. Yep.
Completely. And you can
Great.
just, you can just say my specialties include, and then have a list, and that could
Oh,
be all
awesome.
your keywords.
Yep.
That's a good way of tackling that. I cannot emphasize the next point enough is to really show some personality, because we said early on, marketing trends, people work with people, and this is a place to show your personality. Write it in first person. Really, it's my pet hate doing this in third person. So write it as an I, as the agency owner, and add some quirkiness to it, because you want to have something interesting. And also,
Yep.
it's expected. People want to see, who are you outside of work?
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Of
We're
course.
not just sitting on my desk. You are an entire person, right? So I sometimes speak about being a working parent, and a lot of my clients are actually working parents, and that works for me because they're time short and they want to make things happen, and that really suits my style. So of course I'm going to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, showing your personality, you were sort of saying early on that, with the pandemic and everything that's gone on, that we're sort of seeing into people's lives. And it's it's a really easy time now to just sort of, I guess, be authentic and show those things. Like people are actually literally seeing into people's houses in Zoom calls and stuff like that. So, you can't help but notice the types of plates or the coffee or the books they're reading or whatever it is, or their child walking behind them. That we see their lives.
Yeah.
So to hide that now seems almost inauthentic.
Yeah, I agree. And you have an advantage, don't you, Corey? Because, we've been working online for years now. So when the pandemic happened, we already have our setup, and it's mostly the same for agency owners. I hardly ever, everyone has got a great camera or like a headphone or something in their background they're happy to share. So it's really not difficult, and use that. Okay, so someone who does this so well, because I think, it's always good to be inspired by some real case life examples, is Pishaneri. And again, she's an
awesome
design expert, UX. I think, Corey, you would really like her. And
yes.
Look how cool she has presented her about section. It's broken down. She tells people exactly how she can help them. Do I want to speak at an event, attend one of her events? Is it about human-centered design? I think that's such a clever way of using the space you have in your about section.
Yeah.
So I brought this in here, and so you can
it's
see
amazing.
how much more you can do with it, right?
Yeah. And I'm also sort of seeing, like, with the stuff that I'd written, it's not actually how I talk, or it doesn't even sound like me. I think that's because of when I probably created the profile. I think I went back and updated it to mention the land developers, but I wouldn't have spent any time looking at it like this.
And you probably would have thought, I must be really formal now.
Yes, exactly. I think that's been the problem, that I've felt like this is almost a different. It's like when you're going to a networking event and you feel out of your comfort zone, you misrepresent yourself. Yeah. So
this would be a good example. And I know Pitcher, she's only started recently to really use LinkedIn more, and I think she's doing really well with it.
Yep. Even like the layout of how there's almost like it's almost question and answer, like call and response.
Yeah, exactly. So your eye is drawn to it, and she's got lots of white space in there as well. So it's not too cluttered, right? So no, I think an excellent about section. So then we go on to your experience section. So Corey, I hope I've given you just lots of inspiration for your about section.
I've got a lot of work to do. That's
coffee breaks. I always say, sketch it in some coffee breaks. You can do it.
Yep.
Okay, so another area to really shine a bit more is the experience section. So this is where you've shown off all the different job functions you've had. You talk about L Creative, and again, look, this is what you do currently. It looks all really fine, but if you think about it, you're not giving a lot of detail under each of them. So for each of them, I would say put in 1 or 2 paragraphs to really show how it now relates to your target audience.
Yeah.
So also add some more media. I think it's great, Corey, that you've already attached something. You can attach even more to that, because I really love your content as well. Your blogs are really insightful and they have really striking imagery. So I would definitely encourage you to use that.
One thing that
Mhm.
something that I felt, and I'll be honest here, I felt embarrassed about in the past is that I know that or I believe so, that if I change stuff or if I edit stuff, for places that I've worked, that people get notifications of that stuff, and it's like, oh, I don't really want to be writing a spiel about somewhere I worked like 5 years ago, or something that doesn't really mean anything to me. So it's
okay. The good news is the default setting in LinkedIn nowadays is that no one hears about your updates unless you want them to hear about it.
Yep.
It used to be the other way around. So with my clients, I would forever, first of all, switch that off. But now when you edit it, no one will hear about it.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of I know exactly what you mean, because sometimes we have entries on there which maybe relate, we usually have a portfolio career, right, where we've worked in different sectors and different roles. I guess it's about thinking about what do you do nowadays, and how can you bring up some of these relevant highlights and some of your past experiences. So I tell you what I like, Corey, what you've done is, like, you've got all their company logos in, all of that. I would just, for each of them, for the older ones, definitely have 1 paragraph just to show off what you did for them.
Yes.
Because I'm sure it's more significant than what you make it out to be. And I believe LinkedIn is not the place to be humble. It's definitely where you want to show off what you can show off, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's a good tip. And probably some of that stuff, like my headspace around being less humble has changed. I believe, that there's a when I created this stuff, I wouldn't have felt confident in sort of oversharing or trying to look like I was demanding too much attention. So yeah, it feels something that's a lot easier for me to be able to do now, and even to be able to write, because I've started to create content. It would be much easier for me to articulate some of the things that were done that seem simple, but are really, really, I guess, big. And from a business point of view, I think that's the other thing too. Like, to just say, oh, I designed this, I did that. It doesn't really say how that links to an actual business. Like, how does that impact a business, or what it actually does as the end product for someone?
Because it's a transformation you achieved for your client, right?
That's it. That's the right word.
To reach a new market. Sometimes it's an increase in sales. Sometimes it's a repositioning. Whatever it might be, I would definitely highlight that where you can.
Yeah, with something like this, with experience, is there a point where it feels like when people send you job applications and they've just got too much stuff? Is there a point where it's like, please, 20 jobs is too many, or
yeah, absolutely.
or should you just be focusing on, like, for example, if I got a resume from someone and they've got and they've got 2 jobs where they've worked as designers, and then it's like they worked as delivering pizzas, I don't need to know about the pizzas. Just give me the stuff that relates to me. Is there something there with just talking about the stuff that your headspace is in, or that led you to the space that you're in now? Or, sorry, there's a few things going on there.
No, it's a good question. So, do you know when you write a resume, you usually have like 2 pages, right? So the very fact that you have 2 pages makes you more concise in terms of which past jobs you mentioned, right? And
yes.
With LinkedIn, when I look at my own LinkedIn profile, I want people to see that before I started my own business 5 years ago, I worked with some really good big brands. So my focus was to make sure that the brands are still mentioned on the first page.
Yep.
So I taken some of these smaller jobs in between just into, well, this is when I ran my business. So I would say, okay, so if you look through the eye of someone viewing your LinkedIn profile, what do you want them to take away? What do you want to stand out, and really focus on those? I'm sorry, Corey, there isn't a real choose the first 5, don't the next 3.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
The last 2. It is more about what in your past is really relevant to what you do now. And sometimes, often with agencies, a lot of what you do is project management, communication skills, really getting the language of customers. So if let's say someone worked in customer services 10 years ago, I think that's still a good job to mention, because it means they will be able to communicate with me as the client really well, right?
Yeah.
So think about in those terms.
Yep. And I think what you've basically outlined there is that even if a job like isn't literally, say for me, everything that you can see
Mm-hmm.
there is design based. Pretty much my whole working life has
Mm-hmm.
been design roles. But if there was something like you're saying, and it's communications or it's customer service, you could still write about a customer service job that relates to the
Totally.
place that you are. Like rather than saying, taking orders, like
Yeah.
taking phone calls, making sales calls, you could actually write an actual sentence or a paragraph that
Yeah.
explains the impact that made.
So when I was a student, I was really young. I did market research because it was because I speak German. So for me, it was a really well-paid job to do part-time.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, it's given me such a good insight. Okay, so I might have had to phone up farmers in Germany about combined harvesters or to talk to business executives flying at the time. But actually, just the way they view customer satisfaction and just that attention to detail and that drive to get more people to complete the service, those are all things which have shaped me. Now, you won't find them on my LinkedIn profile, but if I was in an interview situation, I'd be quite happy to talk about them. So it really
Yeah.
depends.
Yep. Great.
Gosh, again, I could talk about that market research job. I'm sorry. Okay. So, okay, I'm focusing. Apologies, focus. So again, just as a summary here for this experience section, highlight the bits in your contributions you've made, which are relevant to your audience, add the keywords, emojis, again, where you can. Make it relevant, and show off your portfolio. I think this is what, as design agencies, as web agencies, you have so much visual assets. Please show
Yep.
them off. And in a little while, I'm going to show you another way how to do this. Corey, are we okay on time so far?
Yeah. There's no rush.
Cool. So I wanted to give you, this is a lady, Jennifer Bourne. I met her in a really supportive GoWP community, and her
Awesome.
experience sections, you can see how she's got media under each of them, and she really shows off what she's done for each of these roles. So that's a great way of doing it. And then Vito from Atarim. So there's another section, Corey, and I think you will like that section. So you can feature some of your posts. And look how approachable that is, right? This is real life Vito. This is what he looks like when he talks to his audience. So I think that's so clever. So I wanted to show you that just to inspire you and our viewers. So next bit then, a little bit less technical. But we said earlier about marketing trends. It's about showing people. And one way you can do that is really share some of your agency stories, right? To really get noticed. And I wanted to give you some tools, if I may. I know you haven't directly asked me for it, but I think it's really important for LinkedIn content to know which stories to share. And you know who I really love? And George Lucas. I don't get Star Wars really. Can I just admit that? I know a lot of agency people do. My husband really gets it.
You're going to have to disconnect the call now. No.
Right. My husband is really into it. I don't know if that counts. But George Lucas, listen to this. I think this is so powerful. When people get to know the people behind your product and how it's made, they talk about you more. And I think in essence, this is why storytelling is so good, because it helps you to connect. So whatever you want to avoid on your LinkedIn profile or on your chosen channel, actually, it's hiding away, not being visible. Not saying anyone needs to wear a mustache, but it's just think about it. You want to.
You could just grow one. Come on.
Yeah, of course, full beard, absolutely. And then ditching the boring vanillaness. Corey, I think you had this realization earlier. I don't have to be as formal. I can let myself write the way I actually speak, and that's absolutely perfect for LinkedIn. So in terms of stories, look, the quirkiness. Look at this guy. It's fine. If you think about things you remember, you don't remember marketing speak, but you remember someone telling a good story. And I think agencies have a real opportunity to tell a story about themselves on LinkedIn. So, one of my clients here, Thomas, Design Box Media, he does that so well. And he was really LinkedIn resistant. Can I just say that? That's a really not liking him. But he's used it to build his connections, to show off his expertise. And it's also good for Google Juice, for his own site. And he celebrated his team members, and he shared agency news. They've moved offices, they recruited someone new. And when marketeers look at different agencies, it's those things they remember. It's the people they remember. They remember someone having a pizza with their team or a Zoom meeting and sharing that on LinkedIn, because it's that human element, isn't it? It's not the beautiful logo. It's the people. So you can do it. So I wanted to, if I may, Corey, I wanted to give you some specific ideas. Are you happy for me to give you some specific ideas?
Yes, of course.
Perfect. Because I talk about behind the scenes content for LinkedIn. So how about you could show off the original branding of a project, and then perhaps bits of your brand questionnaire, and maybe even different logo versions, and then share something about the client reveal and their testimonial. That is such powerful sales content, isn't it, on LinkedIn?
Yes. Yep. Yep.
And
It's funny you said show the original brand. Something that reminded me of is I've actually won work recently because of, on my website, I actually showed hand sketches, the hand drawings of me working out a logo.
Corey.
And people, the client actually said that they specifically picked me because they wanted someone that could do that. And so it's a simple thing that I wouldn't have thought of, and I didn't do it for that reason. But yeah, that's content that you sort of think is throwaway. Like people might do sketches or wireframes for their websites, whatever,
Right?
and they see them as boring, but really that's the actual, I guess that's how it's made. That's how all this stuff works.
Juicy bits, right?
Yeah, that's right. The bits that we don't get to see. We always get to see the finished product. We always get to see the final website. We don't actually see the bare bones. We don't see the building of these things.
But for marketeers, it's so intriguing because, we don't just want to end up with a website. We want to see the journey. And that's why I like to highlight this for your audience, because there's so much content you're sitting on. Yep. And I would encourage you to use it. I love what you said about the hand-drawn elements of it. That is so fascinating. Honestly, I would definitely post that. Another thing which is important is to talk about your agency in terms of where you come from, where you're going, your growth. Introduce, if you have a small team, introduce your team members. We had Michael asking us a question, and he's got, I think, a team of 6. So I would introduce them. Maybe someone, he said, looks after SEO, someone looks after more of a design part. Bring them to the foreground. Post a picture. Say what they love doing.
Yep.
And it's really intriguing for us as potential clients. So definitely an area to use. And okay, Corey, I'm sorry, but you are the star of the show.
Yes, I am. Yes. No,
sorry.
I'm not.
I would definitely encourage you to talk about what you're doing outside work. If you hold events like this, if you go to events, what do you learn from them? What's your why? And then you and I, we chatted about this a bit, but there's such a powerful source of some stories, because the chances are it will relate to your target audience.
Yep. Having worked with people, do you find people, have you found that people struggle with, I guess, getting over that initial part of being able to do this? Because, for example, you just said, I share this sort of stuff, and I'd never thought of doing this. I'd never, and for me, this is comfortable in Facebook, and it's comfortable within the group. I know that people know me. It's a bit of fun. But then putting this on LinkedIn, I almost feel like I haven't put stuff like that on LinkedIn. So introducing that type of content feels scary almost. So do you find that people struggle with taking that first step?
Absolutely. And to be fair, this is where having a coach comes in really handy, because I can sense that really early on. So I would set you some really small task. And what I find is you do something small, like posting a sketch like this.
Yep.
And because you get comments and people interact with you feel encouraged to go take the next step.
Yes.
One of my clients, this was his second business, and he would have never talked about it. But actually, it turned out he likes to work with startup companies. So this was a really relevant story. This is not what we started posting about, because that's like, whoa, that's big. We started with small things. And I think, just gradually build it up. I was always blown away from it, because I started where you started, where LinkedIn is so professional. And, when I started, one year I started talking about how great it was. My mum was here from Germany. We baked some cupcakes. I can't bake. And this post got so much feedback on LinkedIn, and it really blew my mind. And from that day onwards, I knew the power of storytelling and opening up a dialogue, showing more of myself. Because, in corporate life, we often have this, never talk about your family. Everything is always perfect. But when you run your own business, talking more about yourself and how that relates to your audience is probably one of your strongest marketing tools, because let's face it, in the agency world, we often offer really similar services, right?
Yes.
There are many web agencies, many digital agencies. So what can set you apart is your stories and your agency culture and your amazing team and transformation and your processes.
Yep. Love it. Totally on board with that.
Thank you, Corey. So how can you then, so let's say we optimized your profile. So Corey, for you, we worked on the image, we worked on the headline, we worked on the about section, the experience section.
I wish it was done.
I know, sorry. You could...
No, that's good.
Sorry. it's, with LinkedIn, because it's so individual to you, I can help you to write it, but some of the information has to come from you, right? Because it's,
Of course, yeah.
I can't make it up, because then it won't be you and you won't feel comfortable about it.
I've already got ideas going, but I've got to do the work now. It's good. It's good. Anyway, I interrupted you. So
no, don't worry at all. But you might be wondering, so when I just get started, how do I actually grow my network? One easy way of doing it, you can get all your email contacts onto LinkedIn automatically. There's a couple of things you need to do. You can promote it across your other channels. So for you, Corey, you can promote it on your on your website, both of your websites. It can be part of your blog. Join discussions like you would on Facebook, where discussions on groups on LinkedIn. So find a couple of relevant ones, join them. If there are virtual events, land and property developments are going to attend them as a delegate or speak. I know you're a great speaker too. Hang out where they are and encourage them to link back with you on LinkedIn.
Yep.
And one thing is definitely, there's always the option, would you like to add a note? Please always add a note to your connection request, because that's much more personal. Even if it just says, hey, I've seen this blog, or we've met at this event, it's much more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Would you like to have a little bit about LinkedIn posts, or are you getting...
No, keep going.
Ooh, success formula.
Yep.
So on LinkedIn, it's one of these platforms, you've got to be present. Comment before you post. Use relevant hashtags, use some of your hot topics, ask questions, post where you ask the questions do really well, because it's more of a conversational platform nowadays.
Yep.
Here's one of mine. Look, what an easy post. All I did is I ran a Wunderbar with my Wunderstars. You could imagine that I do something social with my coaching clients, right? And I just posted about it, and I tagged in with the Zoom picture.
Yep.
I said it was one of my wins that week, and I asked people what was their wins, and it did really well, because it showed some people, it asked some questions, it wasn't too serious. So these are the posts which often work well. So it's well worth experimenting with that.
Great.
Now, just on the final bit, outreach, and I wanted to bring this in because we had Michael talking about LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and if it's worth getting.
Yeah. So, I've got a few questions here, but that's one of them. So just go for it. I think.
Should I? So I wanted to. Just a couple of things for how do you actually find leads on LinkedIn, whether you do this through Sales Navigator, which is $70 a month, and you can have a free trial as well, or whether you do it organically. So there's an advanced search you can use, and you'd be amazed how much information you get back. You can type. I
don't even know what this navigator is. I saw a couple of questions and I'm like, these are great questions. I have no idea what Lions is. I have no idea what this navigator is. So what are these things? What is it?
So let me just take us off share. So basically, Corey,
hello,
Corey. So LinkedIn have this paid for program. It's called Sales Navigator. It's $70 a month. You can have a free trial, and it gives you additional functionality. So for example, with Sales Navigator, every month you can send 20 messages, they call it in mail, to people who you're not connected with.
Right.
So if you think about it, I think Michael said he's looking to work with more architects. So
yes,
if there's architects out there which are not your first set of connections or your second set of connections, then it's probably worth taking out that subscription, because it will also allow you to get an update on when we're posting, and just to organize all of your contacts. Now, in my own personal experience of LinkedIn, you've got to get the organic stuff right first. You have to optimize your profile. You have to share some content, because it's like you get an approach from someone and it can be really spammy, right? And unless you're already aware of that person and they have an interesting profile, they have some interesting content. So my personal recommendation is before you buy Sales Navigator or try it out, really optimize your profile and really through the lens. So there's a huge amount of people on LinkedIn. Who do you want to appeal to most? And make your profile relevant for that niche. So Corey, I guess for you, if it's more about land developers and property developers, then highlight those projects in your portfolio and in your images and everything you do. And I would imagine for Michael that he should do the same. Don't just have a generic profile. Actually spruce it up in terms of what is most relevant. What websites for architects have you created? How has it transformed their business? How do you go about coming up with a concept which works for them? So that would be my recommendations. I think paid for tools are always great, right? Because inevitably they're going to make things faster and easier. But you want to really nail your LinkedIn messaging first and your profile before you get started. That's my recommendation.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that seems like if you're going to go in there and start with the paid stuff, you're not going to get that practice of, if you start creating some content, you do your profile, you start thinking about this stuff and creating some content, you're going to hone your message, you're going to start to improve, you're going to start to see the things that people already engage with, so that when you start paying them to play, you'll have a much better idea of what stuff resonates and how to talk and how to approach these people. Right. So,
and do you know, like the example of Carl with the guitars I showed you earlier?
Yes.
So we updated his profile together, and within a couple of weeks, he had people reaching out to him because all of a sudden they noticed his profile and became more visible because he was more searchable. So you can still achieve a lot just doing it organically.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Cool. Would you like to, because I just really want to make sure it's value for your audience, would you like to ask for questions, and so that we can make sure that we definitely
I do. I've got a few questions. I don't know if people are going to ask more questions in the group, but we've got a couple. So early on, Trish asked what kind of niches are on LinkedIn. She's great. And she's normally on the beyond the brief calls, and we do the fortnightly calls. So she's always fun. So what kind of niches are on LinkedIn? I mean, is there anyone that's... It sounds like the only people that are on LinkedIn are designers, but that's probably not true.
Hey, do you know, so far I've actually not come across any niche which is not on LinkedIn. I'll give you an example. I know someone who sells their own jewelry, and her main platform is Instagram. But she has an audience of professional women who like to treat themselves and buy jewelry. So she does do a little bit of work on LinkedIn. I think it's about figuring out where most of your audience is and having maybe 80% of your time on those. But first of all, I think with LinkedIn, just check where they're on there. You probably be surprised. They probably are on LinkedIn, and you will know by searching for the hashtags related to your industry. So let's say if it's e-commerce, e-commerce hashtag, online retailers, all of those. Another good trick is to look at any membership organization in the field. So I know for online retailers, there's a huge amount of membership organizations. They have a LinkedIn profile, LinkedIn groups, communities, and then you join them. All of a sudden, you're surrounded by your target market. That's brilliant. So Trish, the short answer is great question. I would imagine that your niche, you could probably find it in LinkedIn. It's just about figuring out, is it enough people and the right people on there?
Yep. Great.
I hope that helps. Great question, Trish.
We did have some questions from Michael and Mark, which were about Navigator, which I think we've pretty much covered.
Hey, Michael, let us know. So message was, optimize your LinkedIn profile first, make it look the best it possibly can be for architects. See if you can find some groups you can join and achieve a lot organically. But if you think about it, if you get LinkedIn Navigator and you dedicate time to it, it's $70 a month. If a project you bring in is, I don't know what kind of work Michael does, but let's say if it's $5,000 upwards.
Yeah, 70, it can pay for itself pretty quickly. Yeah,
absolutely.
So Mark he was asking about Navigator as well, which should definitely ask, but he mentioned something, Lions linked in Open Networker.
Oh, I don't know it. I have to be honest, LinkedIn Lions, I have to have a look at myself.
Yeah.
Do you know, my impression is that, so there's a lot of paid for services you can use for people to get you qualified leads.
Yep.
If your marketing time and your marketing budget is limited, personally, create regular posts on LinkedIn, use the right hashtags, comment on people who are your ideal clients. It's a better strategy personally. Do you know the other thing which is so cool to do with LinkedIn is, because you can really find out what's happening at companies, right? Are they moving offices? Have they got new people in? You can actually start a conversation with them. You can start liking their post, commenting on it with something thoughtful. People get to notice you then, so that when you then do reach out and you find something in common, oh, I've seen you moved offices, the trust is already starting to build. And one of the things you as designers can do so well, you could probably look at someone's homepage and have just 3 or 4 tips of how they can make it much more effective in converting their clients. What about if someone you have already a bit of a conversation and you say, oh, would you like me just to share some 3 things you could do on your homepage to really...
Yeah, it's totally different if someone knows who you are versus just DMing them and sliding into their inbox.
we all ignore these things, but if someone actually went through a travel and said, hey, Nicole, I looked at Wonderstars and actually you were missing out. These are 3 things you could do. And actually, I've got 3 more things you could do. Would you like to have a chat?
Yeah.
I'd probably say yes.
Yeah. There's something that, engagement is both ways, and people sort of think about the content that they create and they want engagement, but you really need to be giving that engagement, and people notice, like, the people that are going to watch this, that are on the live at the moment, I'm going to, I'll know who they are, and I know that they're getting something from it. Not to say that other people don't get something from it, but anyone that asks a question, you can see that they're sort of giving something back by sort of sharing. And if you just post something on LinkedIn, or you post stuff in Facebook groups, or you just post stuff on Twitter, and you don't really share anything or like anything or comment on the stuff that people do, then it's not how it works. That's right. So, you need to sort of show up and spend some time, I presume, in LinkedIn, and just sort of say, hey, this is really interesting. I got something from it. And then people will notice that you actually exist as well.
Okay, perfect. And, it could be let's say if you have 3 times a week, a 20-minute slot, that's all you need.
Yep.
To start off with. And imagine that you have it 3 times in your diary. Be really systematic about it, who you want to get noticed by, who you want to nurture relationships with. Have a spreadsheet or whatever CRM system you might use, and make sure you go into their company pages, you go into their profiles, you like things, you say something thoughtful. People will appreciate it, and in turn they will come back to your posts and like them and say something. Yeah. So then it's a ripple effect. You get noticed. It's a bit like, you go to a party, you don't just say, hi, I'm Nicole Oswald, I'm such a great marketing coach, and then I leave. Yeah. Stick around, right?
Here's my card. Call me.
It is a bit like that, right? It's the whole social element about social media.
Yeah.
And that's why I always say, pick 1 or 2 platforms and truly be social on them.
Yeah, that's really good. And this is almost a bit of a follow-on, and it's Trish and Michael McGinty both sort of hinted at this sort of thing. So Trish said, how do you use LinkedIn without being a spammer and getting constantly spammed? And then Michael said a similar thing. How do you have any tips on how we engage with the target market without seeming salesy and he said, do we just send a single connection or a note or something short, or is there a better way to introduce yourself? So I think that's the same sort of thing. Like, how do we sort of come across as authentic without,
Do you know, Michael and Trish, great questions. So when you connect with someone, always add a connection note, and it could just be, hey, I've come across you because of so, it would be great to connect you. Thanks, Michael. It could be something really short.
Yep.
Then whatever you do, don't straight away, hey, by the way, I want to sell you a website. don't message them, because those are the spammy messages we all hate, right?
Yep.
Go onto their profile, like some of their posts, comment on them, and then maybe you have a thoughtful piece of content which could help us. I've noticed you talked about working with more clients in this market. Actually, we've got a blog about this. You might find this interesting. So it's about finding what it is you have in common. And I know that takes more effort, but frankly, we can't afford to come across as spammy, right?
Yeah.
And if you really targeted with who it is you can really make the biggest contribution to their company with the transformation they're hoping for, then they're worth spending some time on. So yes, always personalized messages completely. Most people ignore things when there's not a note, and don't straight away going selling. Ask them, what are you working on at the moment? A little later down the line, ask what you're struggling with when it comes to your website.
Yeah.
You have to sort of, like a normal sales conversation.
Yeah, or just a normal conversation generally.
Exactly.
Remove the word sales from that. I mean, that's something. Nick with he has his Sell by Helping course, and
it's amazing. Yeah,
that's something that we've sort of talked about together, and in some of these conversations that we've had with Beyond the Brief. It really is like removing that sort of sales part from it. And one thing that I do with existing clients is actually just keep in touch with them, and sort of, if I see stuff that is right for them or interesting to them, it's just sharing that. I don't go to my clients and say like, hey, is there anything that you need done? But what happens is, by just keeping in touch with them and asking them how things are going, and, what stuff they're working on or whatever, or if I find information that's worth sharing with them, it leads them to then say, hey, I was just thinking about this thing for you. They might not have even been thinking about that, but because I've sort of got in touch with them and asked them something genuine, it can often lead to work. Probably, I believe, more often than directly sort of saying, hey, do you have any work opportunities for me?
Totally, Corey. Do you know? And if you think about LinkedIn, would be such a great platform to extend that kind of behavior, because as soon as you post about a client project on LinkedIn, they will comment on it, and then their network will see it, who probably are very relevant people to you. And
And
I like
just think,
I like what you've done, this proactive sort of, hey, how's it going? Just asking them what we're currently facing. That's real good client management. Like my agency got in touch, said, "Harley, Cole, we've got this great idea for your YouTube vlog." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm up for it. Let's do it." And I really
yeah,
appreciated that it wasn't just, "Oh, let's just do it the same," something completely new. And I think this is the sort of relationships you want to build with your clients.
yep. And I think that's the thing, that the word relationships, right? And you can almost start a relationship before it's actually a client, and that's sort
Yeah.
of, I guess, a way. And I sort of think about it, say LinkedIn or any platform that I can think of. There's people that feel like they've sold to me, and then and there's people that I would say I've connected with them and I've become friends with them, and that can be anyone, like say yourself, people like Nick, these people like Trish, we've talked about already, people that I've just essentially met from social media, and that we've had something common, and rather than them saying, oh, like try to get, no one's trying to get anything from each other, they're just trying to say like, hey, notice your stuff, you seem like you know what you're talking about. That was really, that was really well said, or whatever it is, doesn't really matter, but it's just starting a conversation, and then that creates a connection and builds a network rather than trying to make a sale. But I think
I agree.
Yeah, I think
that's really powerful, isn't it?
For me, I feel like, there's some people that haven't really sold to me, or haven't, like I've made friends with on social media, and that's what I'm saying. They're friends, but it's the same technique. You may have just sent someone a DM randomly and just say, hey, that thing that you sent was really, posted was really great. But you're not doing, then you, when they reply to you, don't go, also, I make websites. Can you remember those people and go, I'm never talking to that person ever again. The first thing they said to me was, can you buy from me? Like, I don't want to deal with that person.
It's true, right? And everyone is just human, right? And that's exactly what people don't like about spammy messages. It's just, oh, let's connect, let's sell. It just doesn't work like that.
Yeah. Speaking of Nick, his ears must be burning, because he's got a question here. He said, are groups still a thing on LinkedIn?
Oh, Nick, hey, thank you so much for joining, Nick. Do you know what? I really, really appreciate it. And Nick always asks great questions, and I love what he's doing, like adding value and selling. So everyone who hasn't checked out Nick's course, please do. And Corey, you've been working on Nick's personal branding. It's brilliant. So LinkedIn group, it's a bit of obviously LinkedIn is trying to keep us on the platform, right? Their senior team is rewarded by keeping people on the platform, a bit like with YouTube. It's the same story, really. So I would maybe pick out a couple of groups. I am not active in any LinkedIn groups. I've not seen the value of it. When I compare my time LinkedIn groups to Facebook groups, I've made many more valuable connections on Facebook groups. So give it a go. I wouldn't say never, but it's the same a bit like the company pages. On LinkedIn, people want to connect with that person. So if you have a very specific target market, I would definitely go and check out just one or two groups which are not too big, so your voice can be heard, because Nick, you have some valuable tips just to share that I think that will draw people in. So I would give it a go, and then see after a month or two what's the return on investment, right? Because we all have limited time and we need to make sure we focus on the right things.
I guess in line with that, it might change over time as well, because that's what Nick's saying here. He's saying the advice is used to be to join these groups, but it seems like they're a bit spammy, and that's what I've felt too. But like I guess our personal profiles, or what do we call them, the wall, like where our content is on LinkedIn, that's changed. That really is becoming like this Twitter, like, Instagram, with this content feeds that really is organic stuff. So I guess groups could change too, but at the moment, I haven't seen any that seem to be valuable to me either.
So like in the last 6 months, so they've introduced creator mode. You can even have a video instead of your picture. You can change like the way people are either connecting with you or following you. So they are constantly updating. The updating is always worth checking out if you're really comfortable on LinkedIn. On video, you could do LinkedIn Live. You could hold events on there. There is so much, but I don't like to overwhelm people.
No.
Like at any platform, it constantly changes, right? So just start with like the basics, and we definitely covered the basics today. And when you're ready, see what's the latest feature, and does that suit me?
Yep. All right, we've got one last thing. I don't know if I'll have to check the group, see if anything else came in, but
Mhm.
Mark did actually ask if your slides would be available or if we can make them available afterwards. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be
oh,
my pleasure. I will. You know, you can, if you wanted to, you can upload them on your Facebook group as a document.
yeah, I'll probably
That's
put this recording on the website, and if you're happy,
yeah,
I'll make that a
yeah,
download or something like that. I'm
yeah,
sure. I'm sure there might
absolutely.
be a
You know,
blog post written about this anyway.
do you know, let's just see. I mean, a lot of the, if I go very briefly, if that's okay, do you know, a lot of things we talked through it. I just, you know, you can't take the German out of a German. I just like to have them on there so I don't forget them.
Yep.
But we've already, yeah, we've done these. Another fun tool, there's like a LinkedIn sales, social sales indicator where you can measure your performance. And then the last recommendation for you, Corey,
Yep.
get some recommendations.
All
And
right.
look, recommendations. This is Carl. You know, and he said like in the last 6 months he had some of the biggest deals in his agency work. And look, it's a couple of these cool recommendations from people. So people just saying how they enjoyed working with you. And you can
Yeah.
send them a request. It's really easy. And look, this is a bit. It will help you to take your profile from a Trabant to a sports car. Sorry, I can
I,
never help
I
German
kind of
accents.
like the little blue car. I had a car like that once.
It was brilliant. We should have another chat. Very briefly, how people can work with me. You already said I have my Wunderstars coaching program, so I've got one-to-one coaching, but I also got a team option available since a year because I wanted to make it available for a wider range of people. And it's all about figuring out where you currently are, taking that into action, and then helping you with lots of accountability and empathy. And you know, Corey, I know I'm German, so I'm very structured, but I have huge amounts of empathy as well, because I think people are at their best when they have fun learning, fun overcoming fear points. And I like
Yep.
to have fun as well. So that's how
You
I work.
certainly do.
Right? And people who like to just get a bit more inspiration for social media and content, I've got this really good freebie. 30 days of content inspiration. Then you
Right.
download it on my website. You also, as part of the email nurturing sequence, get the story finder exercise. So, you know, everyone talks about telling stories, sharing them, but no one ever tells you how to get the good ones figured out for you and your business. I do.
Excellent. Well, that's good.
So that comes, and then yeah, here are my details. I would love for people to join me on YouTube. So that's Nicole Osborne Wunderstars. Every second Monday, I share tons of social media tips for time short people. I have got a whole LinkedIn playlist on there, so someone could really indulge in that.
Yes. Some of the stuff on YouTube is amazing. I will make sure when I post the
Thank
replay that
you.
I put all the links and stuff below.
Thank you.
So it's easy for people to get to. I'm sure people will get a lot of value from, well, not only the stuff that we've talked about, but the stuff that you're sharing there. That's amazing. So,
Oh, amazing. And you know, I'm really happy
whew,
for someone who's really serious and very worried about, I don't know what to post. I don't know how to optimize it. I'm very happy also to offer a preferential rate for your group members in terms of a power hour with me, which is like a whole hour with me where we rip the profile apart. I find out what your target market is after.
I just
I
had
give you
mine
some.
done.
You did, right? You did. And as part
Kind
of
of.
that, you also get like a follow-up session with me. So I give you a special link for that. But any questions anyone has, just tell us here. I'll be around watching the replay. You know, Corey and I, we both just want to help, right? So we're here to do that. But if someone wants to get some paid for help, obviously you can approach me as well.
Yep, awesome. I had a few comments of people saying great talk
Oh,
and great stuff. So that was amazing.
thank you.
I'm going to wrap this one up, and like I said, I've got lots of homework to do now. I definitely will be in touch, and we need to talk again. But thank you so much for giving
My
you an
pleasure.
hour of time. It's been amazing.
No, I really appreciate it. And, you know, you scheduling something which works in the UK as well. I'm so excited about that, Corey. So thank you so much. And yeah, lovely meeting everyone in your community. Nick, Trisha, Michael, keep on posting. This is an awesome community.
Oh, thank you very much. All right, we'll see you next time, Nicole. Thank you very much. All right,
Auf
see you
Wiedersehen.
everyone. Bye.
Auf Wiedersehen.